Hi everyone and welcome to Bonnie Astrology. Today I'm discussing the lunar eclipse in Pisces happening on either the 17th or the 18th of September depending on where you are in the world, and of course what it means for your zodiac sign. As always, if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for regular astrology updates from me. I do have a goal of hitting 80,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so please give me a follow if you do enjoy this type of content. And if you do want to book a service with me, I have now officially set up a website, so you can now contact me directly and book a reading there. I was just finding the email system way too overwhelming. So yes, you can book a reading directly with me now at the website. So I'm going to get into what this lunar eclipse means for us collectively and then go into what it means for the individual zodiac signs. This eclipse is so significant. You're going to want to pay attention to this because it's the first in a series of 7 eclipses happening on the Virgo Pisces axis. Now, we've not had eclipses in these signs since 2017, so this is going to set in place a whole new storyline for all of us individually, but also collectively, which I'll be getting into in this video as well. I will have a video going up on the nodes shifting signs as the North Node moves into Pisces in January, meaning by default that the South Node moves into Virgo. So there's going to be a whole new theme playing out for all of us on the axis of the zodiac associated with health and well-being. Mentally and physically. So that is going to set about a whole new series of themes. So I'm going to look into this lunar eclipse in Pisces. As I say, this is the first of 7 eclipses leading up to 2027 happening on this axis. So if we look back to 2015 to 2017, you could see that that was the last eclipse cycle in Virgo and Pisces, albeit the North Node was in Virgo, the South Node was in Pisces at that time, Chiron was in Pisces at that time, Jupiter was in Virgo. And if we look back even further to the last time the North Node was in Pisces, the South Node in Virgo, we're looking at 2006 to 2008. At that time, Uranus was in Pisces. So as you can see, depending on when the eclipse cycles happen, we have different outer planets in the mix. This time around, we're beginning this series of eclipses while Saturn and Neptune are in Pisces. So we're going to have a bit of a different flavor. With astrology and history, it does not repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So if you think back to the themes going on through the lens of your Pisces and Virgo houses, what was happening for you at those time periods, you might see that there's certain themes that were playing out for both that are going to play out again, albeit not exactly the same. You know, the outer planets are in different places, you're in a different place, so naturally the events that unfold are going to be a bit different, albeit they may have similar themes. So do pay attention to what was going on for you in your life at that time. This eclipse, it's happening at 25 degrees of Pisces. If you have any personal placements at 25 degrees of Pisces, listen up, this eclipse affects you the most. If you have any placements at, I want to say, if we're looking 20 to 29 degrees of Pisces, you may be feeling this as a conjunction. The further away it is degree from this, the less likely you're going to feel directly impacted by it. If you have anything at 24, 25, 26 of Virgo, Sagittarius or Gemini, you're going to feel this eclipse as well. It is a partial eclipse, so it's not humongous, but it can feel, depending on how it's affecting on your chart, bigger based on your individual circumstances. But oftentimes with partial eclipses, we kind of already know what's coming up with this. We know what we need to release. We know what we need to let go of. And if you think back as well to a more recent time, if you think back to March, the new moon in Pisces, what intentions did you set? What seeds did you plant at this time? They may be harvested, they may have a peak experience, they may be illuminated under this particular eclipse. They could come to fruition. As I say, it's good to pay attention to this one. If you look to your Pisces house, or even if you're just, I would say, to be honest, what I'm doing is that I've got a note in my notes app of eclipse pointers. So because this is the first eclipse on this axis, and it affects me most as a Pisces rising, because it's the first eclipse on this axis right up until 2027, it's good to note what you notice comes up this month. And you may notice that it gives you a bit of a preview, even if it's subtle, to what's coming in the future. So do pay attention this month for signs, synchronicities, particularly in your Pisces chart. As I say, it's happening at 25 degrees of Pisces, but for Sabian symbols, we actually round up for this. So we're looking at 26 degrees for the Sabian symbol. And although this is a full moon, because lunar eclipses only coincide with full moons, this Sabian symbol actually references a new moon. So it's interesting in that sense because new moons are about new beginnings, and this is the first of a series. So even though it's a lunar eclipse, even though it's a full moon, there is a sense of new energy coming in with this. But the Sabian symbol says a new moon that divides its influences, differing opinions, ideas going in different directions. Symbolically, Pisces in astrology are the two fish going in different directions. This might be a time when you notice that you want to go in a different direction to a person, to an organization, to a thing. You want to separate from something at this time. That could be a relationship, that could be a job, but you may notice that your intuition is calling you in a different direction. Now, I will mention in terms of change at this time, there's a very supportive sextile to this lunar eclipse from Uranus, which means that the sun in Virgo is in a trine with Uranus in Taurus at this time. And sextiles, harmonious, positive links to Uranus facilitate change that you're comfortable making. You're sort of more open to it, or you're more adaptable to embracing change, doing something differently, doing something out of your comfort zone. You're more likely to be excited by the shakeups, to be excited by the changes or potential changes taking place at this time, and to get out of your comfort zone. There is a conjunction to Neptune, which really adds to the Piscean themes. So I'm going to get into the Piscean themes now. With Pisces energy, whether it's a full moon or whether it's a lunar eclipse, and lunar eclipses are full moons on steroids, emotions take center stage. Your feelings take center stage. Pay attention to your feelings. With Pisces energy, there's a sense of surrender, because as a mutable water sign, you cannot hold on to water. And you cannot hold on to your feelings forever. Eventually they'll come up, and if you're trying to hold them in, this eclipse is going to come in like a tidal wave and knock them right out of you. You may feel more emotional. You may be noticing there are feelings coming up that you thought you dealt with as well, because these can be coming up in dreams, they can be coming up in conversations. You can be out in a public space and all of a sudden you feel the energy of the people you're around. Pisces is a very boundaryless, psychic sponge, empathic sign. So you could notice that you're picking up other people's energy. You're feeling more like you're wanting to share your feelings, or you're finding that other people are wanting to share their feelings with you. With Pisces energy, it's either that we're having the emotional catharsis and sharing with somebody else, or they're sharing with us. Because it's the two fish, it's nicer when it goes both ways. It's nicer when you're having a conversation with somebody where you're both sharing your experiences, but be open to the fact that others may want to share their feelings with you, or be open to having your feelings supported and held by somebody else. That's obviously the ideal situation, and you need to make sure that you have people around you that can do that for you. But sometimes with lunar eclipses, they can come up in unlikely forms as strangers, but usually with the lunar eclipse as women. So you might find that there's some, you're finding people are sharing their feelings with you, you're sharing yours with them. Do pay attention to your feelings, and do pay attention to your intuition. And as I said before, pay attention to what signs and synchronicities are coming up. Pisces is a very mystical, magical, synchronistic sign. So you may notice serendipities coming up that have little clues behind the next chapter. It's a very boundaryless sign, so as well, you need to ground and protect your energy and release the need to hold on to other people's stuff at the end of the day, whether you do that through a bath or a shower ritual, a salt bath, cleansing, whatever you do to recharge, and whatever you do to feel grounded. For a lot of people, that's going out in nature. I will say with this one, I would advise against getting in the ocean. I would advise against getting into bodies of water, because eclipses tend to coincide with freaky natural energy. They tend to coincide with big natural disasters or weather issues. And I think with it being in the sign of Pisces, and Pisces being associated very much with the ocean, with bodies of water, and Neptune being in the mix, you can easily misread a situation and things can kind of quickly turn. And I think as well with this, one of the main reasons can be because of, with Neptune in the mix, poisons, pollutions. One of the things we're seeing most with Saturn being in Pisces now is rectification when it comes to organisations polluting water, the water quality not being right. I know that in England there's been a couple of cases where townspeople have successfully sued the water boards for polluting their rivers and things. They can't get into them. So that can be a theme that's coming up. We notice a lot of conversations about the ocean, about rivers, about lakes, and how they're being polluted and how they're not fit for people to enjoy them, to get into them, to go for a swim and things like that. I would just be mindful of getting into any natural body of water at this time. Honestly, obviously you free will, you can do what you choose to do, but I would just think around the time of this eclipse, maybe give it a bit of a wide berth. I also feel at this time I would not recommend consuming fish or seafood. That conjunction to Neptune makes me think there's a lot of potential for poison, there's a lot of potential for food poisoning, things like that with this. So just be mindful. Pay attention to what you're eating, drinking, ingesting, what you're using with Neptune, what you're washing with, for example, as well. Can be something to pay attention to around this time. Some folk may notice they have allergic reactions to things that they're using in liquid form. So pay attention to that with this particular lunar eclipse. That's not to scare you, it's just a very overcautious word of advice, I think, with this particular transit. But I have just heard before of people getting food poisoning from fish under Pisces eclipses, so I would just watch for that. But it can be a very emotional time, and it can be a time that brings about fated changes. Eclipses are always linked to fated changes, and these can be emotional points, these can be emotional moments. As I said before with Pisces, the best thing to do with eclipses is note, and with Pisces energy in general, the best thing to do is note that some fated changes are simply meant to be. And the more we struggle against them, the more we get carried away with the current. So I would say with this one, if things are changing around you, make a lot of space for your emotions, make a lot of space to heal, maybe make space to go inward and take some time alone. Pisces rules the 12th house of isolation, and you cannot hold on to water. So you cannot hold on to your feelings, your emotions at the time of this eclipse. You can choose how you react and you can choose what you do with them, but finding a safe space with the lunar eclipse in Pisces to release your emotions, and the best way to do that, I think, is through meditation, spiritual matters, divination, journaling, getting in touch with your feelings. One word of caution on divination. This is a very spiritual time. This is a great time for tapping into your intuition. You may notice with divination though, Pisces energy, Neptune energy, especially because a lot of this year we've had Neptune at the crisis degree. Be careful of using divination, tarot, things like that, as a way of escaping reality, of a way of mistrusting yourself, of seeking answers to the point you get more confused. Sometimes tarot can become a very real addiction, and I have watched it play out in different times for different people. Sometimes it is better to take a step back and start to reconnect with your own intuition and your internal guidance. A lot of the time it's better to use it as a confirmation that you're on the right track and tap into your own intuition, but some people can, especially in tough times, really rely on it to tell them exactly what's going to happen because they're so afraid. And if you tap into your intuition and you develop this trust with yourself, you will find this much more easier to navigate. It can be a form of escapism. It's not just substances, drugs, alcohol that comes under the Neptunian, Piscean escapist possibilities. So just be mindful of that. Notice where anything to do with the spiritual realm is becoming more of as a tool of escapism and addiction. Saturn being in Pisces does add a sense of grounding to this that would not otherwise be present. And the sextile to Uranus in an earth sign also, and Pluto as well, now back in an earth sign, also adds a sense of grounding to this as well. So there is more potential to be grounded and find helpful tools to navigate a very emotional lunar eclipse. But obviously this is a time with Neptune conjunct the lunar eclipse that you may become aware of your addictions, of where you have escapist tendencies, what you're trying to escape from, what you are using as a tool of escapism, where it's become unhealthy. And this might be a time when you realize that you need to make a change, you need to release it. It is also a time where we do focus a little bit more on isolation, where we are choosing to isolate ourselves, where we have become isolated, where we would like to go inward and work on something. People may be more drawn to retreats, people might be more drawn to spend time alone. This does rule hospitals, the healthcare system, and it also rules prisons. So these might be things that come up to be reformed, where there's significant changes and fated events over the series of eclipses going on until 2027 as well. Something else to pay attention to under this lunar eclipse in Pisces, your dreams. Pisces rules the subconscious mind. So with the lunar eclipse in Pisces, we could notice throughout September that there are very vivid and symbolic dreams, maybe about the past, maybe about past experiences, past traumas, past relationships, past events, and it may be a chance to process some feelings you've not been able to address. It can also be that you have visitation dreams, dreams about deceased loved ones. It can also be that you have psychic dreams. You might be seeing things in your dreams that are coming to fruition in the future, or it could be that if you have seen something in a dream, it comes to fruition around the time of this lunar eclipse. It could absolutely be a time where you are channeling your intuition through your dreams, you're healing your subconscious, you're processing your emotions through the dream state. It might also be a time of more heightened paranormal activity. You might notice strange synchronicities, symbols, signs, or have unusual experiences around the time of the lunar eclipse in Pisces. This can all be something that is calling your attention inward to something that needs to be released, something that needs to be cleansed, or something that needs to change. Or you might notice that you are wrapping up a chapter in your life to begin anew and welcome in new storylines, new plots, new characters, new settings with this particular series of eclipses. So do pay attention to your dreams and pay attention to prioritizing sleep at the time of this eclipse as well, so that you feel stronger and you feel able to cope with these shifting transformative energies ahead with this particular eclipse. I'm going to pull a tarot card for this lunar eclipse in Pisces and see what the message is. Let me know if you have any placements at 25 degrees of Pisces, as you will definitely be feeling this eclipse, and keep us updated on what's going on for you. The moon, the subconscious, the unconscious mind, your dreams, your emotions, your intuition. You might also be noticing a lot of fears, repressed fears coming up at this time. An illumination of what's going on beneath, what lies beneath with you. Your emotions are rising to the surface. It's appropriate to have the moon at a lunar eclipse, I must say, and this is also a Pisces card, so this couldn't be any better. But I think with this particular lunar eclipse, it is worth noticing the feelings, the emotions, the intuitive hits, but also the fears that are coming up for you at the time of this eclipse. With Neptune, sometimes you can see where not everything is as it seems. It can either be an energy of being, in a space of delusion, or it can be a space of getting it can be a time of getting a reality check. It's a really loud plane flying overhead. A reality check of some kind. So you might notice that the truth comes out that you weren't aware of at the lunar eclipse, or a truth within you is revealed. It doesn't have to be outside of yourself, but it can absolutely illuminate what's going on for you in your subconscious mind and your unconscious, and bringing it to the surface, which is really interesting with this moon card. Very, very appropriate for this lunar eclipse, I must say. And one thing about delusion is that a lot of the time every dream starts off from a place of delusion, because delusion is basically where your reality and your deluded perspective do not match. But sometimes, delusion is the first step to achieving that big goal. Obviously, it has, take it as it resonates. Sometimes it can be a very unhealthy place to be, and sometimes it can be, I'll see it when I believe it, or I'll believe it when I see it. It's choosing between those two different perspectives. So sometimes a little bit of healthy delusion goes a long way in helping you achieve the life of your dreams, and sometimes it can be a soul-crushing reality check that this person was not who you thought they were, that this job was not what you thought it was, that you were not who you thought you were with this lunar eclipse. And either way, it can be absolutely very emotional, but it is bringing things to the surface that for whatever reason on your soul's path you need to see. That's what I have for the lunar eclipse. Timestamps are listed below. I hope you all have a beautiful eclipse, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aries, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Pisces for your sign. So Aries, this eclipse is happening in your 12th house, so this is quite hidden for you. A lot of what's happening with this eclipse is probably quite behind the scenes and quite private for you. A lot of it you could be dealing with internally. People might not know about this, and that may be because you choose to put yourself in a place of exile, solitude, isolation, or you may of course be, you know, hopefully not, but you may of course be in those places because of a hospital stay or feeling unwell. Sometimes when eclipses go through the 12th house, 6th house axis, we can deal with periods of being unwell, feeling unwell. And this is the first in that series for you. So it's important to take the best care of your health you possibly can. But I think for a lot of you, it's more likely that you're just feeling a little bit like you need some time to yourself around the time of this eclipse. Maybe you're just noticing your relationship with spending time by yourself, whether that's too much, whether that's too little. You know, it might be a beautiful way to recharge, but it can also become something you do to protect yourself from getting hurt. So it's important to look at both and see, am I getting enough alone time, or am I maybe getting too much with this 12th house eclipse? You know, you've had Saturn going through your 12th house, and I think for a lot of people that does tend to coincide with periods of isolation. It's very common when people are on maternity leave to have Saturn going through the 12th house. You know, they're at home raising a baby, and sometimes that can be quite an isolating experience. For some people, it can be that they're out of work for health reasons, and that can be quite an isolating experience. But whatever the case may be, it does not have to be either for either of you. It can actually be, you know, that you're working behind the scenes in something more, or you're choosing to be alone more. Whatever the case may be, Aries, I think this eclipse is really rattling up how you feel about that, how you feel about solitude, loneliness, how you feel about spending time by yourself or being in isolation. It can also be a time when you realize where you need to heal. So with an eclipse in the 12th, sometimes your fears can be made apparent. Sometimes your traumas, your past baggage can be made apparent. And that can be through very peculiar dreams. That can be through a breakthrough in a therapy session. That can be simply a breakthrough in a conversation, Aries. But you might notice that some of the things that you have been suppressing are coming up for your attention. Again, that's quite a common theme of Saturn going through the 12th. So you might be working on some stuff behind the scenes internally. You might be processing some emotions that you've maybe not been able to look at until now for whatever reason, or maybe you just not had the time, or maybe you've not wanted to. Sometimes 12th house can do that. I will also say for some of you, this can be a time when you realize some hidden enemies in your life. Now that can be more so, I often view it more so as the self-sabotaging behaviors that we have. So if we do things that actually harm us in the long run, but we use them as coping mechanisms. The coping mechanisms the ego builds up to keep us safe. They're well intentioned, they're not designed to hurt us, but in the long run, sometimes we can end up suffering more because of them. So that can be, where you build an avoidant attachment style to keep you safe from being hurt, rejected, or abandoned, and then you realize you're actually becoming very lonely. That's just a random example. It does not have to be yours. It can be realizing the internal self-sabotaging behaviors that were designed to keep us safe, as I say, well-intentioned. You don't have to judge yourself for it, but how they're not really working for you anymore. And it can also be, unfortunately, sometimes with eclipses in the 12th house, that you realize if you have a hidden enemy or two in your camp, in your life. You might realize that certain people have been trying to manipulate you, deceive you, lie to you. And I think for a lot of you, it could be through flattery, through telling you, exactly what you want to hear with Neptune conjunct this eclipse. And you might realize under it that, oh, this isn't real. This person's not real. It's a little bit love bomby. It could be that you've maybe experienced that from someone, or it could also be that someone has just been lying to you for their own advantages, or exaggerating the truth, or exaggerating a story. And that can sometimes be, with eclipses, that can come out and you can think, oh, I can't look at that person the same again. I do sometimes think that a person's shadow can come out. A hidden enemy, you can observe it under the eclipse. So your tarot card was the 5 of Swords, which is sort of giving me, this card is really interesting because it's a man and a woman. He's holding a bouquet of flowers, but he has a knife behind his back. It's very sinister. So I kind of feel like for a lot of you, again, it could be that false flattery thing or someone sort of telling you what you want to hear for your own advantage. It can also be you telling yourself what you think is best that you realize is not actually serving you anymore. So do pay attention under this eclipse as to what is revealed to you, because it can be part of a larger story. And I do think the information that comes out at this time can really help you with your confidence. There's a nice sextile to Uranus. You could maybe have the confidence to cut somebody off who is hostile. It could also be that you have the confidence to speak up for yourself. It can also be with the sextile to Pluto that whatever happens under this eclipse, it gives you the power career-wise to make a decision, or to make some sort of changes professionally, Aries. I think for a lot of you this is sort of going to be information that if something came out that you didn't like, it would serve you in the long run anyway. You know, it would be better to have it cleared out so that you can move forward. This is a series of eclipses, as I say, up until 2027, so do pay attention to the signs, the synchronicities and the experiences that you have under this eclipse, Aries. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Taurus, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Pisces for your sign. So Taurus, this lunar eclipse, it's happening in your 11th house of friendships and groups. So this is quite a social house for you. You might be noticing that the themes that come up at this time surround your friends, friendships, teams that you're a part of, groups that you're a part of. With it being a lunar eclipse, you could very well be exiting a particular group or a team. Or someone could be leaving a team that you're a part of. It can also be that there is something materializing when it comes to your social network or your online spaces, your online presence. So look back to March of this year and see if you set any intentions for, you know, if you're a social media person, perhaps growth on the internet. You could be finding that if you're online, you're getting a lot of exposure, a lot of recognition. It can also be that a group that you're a part of is growing, or it can be that you're really getting to grips with how you feel about your friends, how you feel about your teams and the groups that you're a part of. You might be growing an audience if you are online as well at this time. I just want to mention that for some of you, because I know that a lot of people that watch these are. Most people try and bring their businesses, whatever that may be, online to some extent. So you could find that you're growing or getting exposure there. So I think for a lot of you, this is looking like changes when it comes to who you're associating with. Many of you could be leaving a group. Many of you could be letting go of a friendship. And this is mostly through the guise of whether or not this person or these people align with how you're changing. And I think you would feel good about leaving it behind, Taurus, honestly, because there's a sextile to Uranus in your first house. So you're feeling like, oh, okay, I can make this change. I can go. It's good. It's grand. And I also think with the conjunction to Neptune, it's kind of like turning on the lights and thinking, do I belong here? Is this right? Was I seeing this group clearly? Was I seeing this social experience clearly? I do actually have a vivid memory once of being in a room with a group of people and realizing I am so not meant to be here. I'm not meant to be in this social circle. This is not where I'm supposed to be. These are not my people. And it was with a rock band on Halloween. So it was a very surreal experience where I just thought, why am I here? What am I doing here? You might be having that experience with people. It's sort of like realizing the delusion or the idealistic energy was just not at all what it seems. And a rock band's a good example for that, because you can really think, oh, these people are so cool. This is so glamorous. This is so whatever. And then you actually get to know them and you realize it's really not. It's really not. So you could be having this experience of looking at whatever group you're a part of, whoever you're a part of, and thinking, no, this is not for me anymore. This is not what I wanted. This is not where I wanted to be. Your friendships and your social groups likely to change quite a bit over the next couple of years, I will say, Taurus. And you might also be realizing at this time a wish or something that you really want for yourself. You may realize if something was too much of a fantasy, if something was unrealistic, if something was not possible. And you may be thinking that because perhaps financially it's not a doable thing, or just maybe it doesn't align with your values anymore. I think for a lot of you, Taurus, you're really coming to grips with what you truly hope for under this eclipse and what the ideal would be and how to sort of ground that fantasy into reality. You know, that's a very creative energy, is taking it from the ether and putting it into your life and realizing, you know, what you need to do to make that happen. And what you need to do to make that happen, Taurus, is to connect with other people. You need community, you need groups. Interestingly, your tarot card was the Three of Coins, and in this deck, it actually says on it, doing it together. So doing it with other people is about collaboration, teamwork, synergy, listening to other people, sharing your ideas, getting together with other folk and making something happen. I think for a lot of you, this is going to be where your social connections really come through for you. If not now, give it time. Eclipses don't have to manifest right in the moment, but you may notice the stars sort of aligning you with people who can really help you ground your vision. You know, Saturn's in your 11th house as well. Grounding your vision is going to be important going forward. That is what I have for you, Taurus, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, welcome to the lunar eclipse in your sign. I hope you're all doing really well. Gemini, this lunar eclipse is the first of a series of 7 on this axis, going right up until 2027. And as a mutable sign, you're going to be very impacted by this series of eclipses. And starting with this one, I think for a lot of you, what is on the horizon would be professional changes. It is quite possible under this eclipse that your professional title changes. It may also be that you're achieving something significant when it comes to your work, when it comes to your career, or when it comes to a long-term goal of yours. For those of you that are not working, it can be that you're getting some power, some status, some recognition at this time. It can also be for some of you that if it's not you, it's your boss. So you might have a boss that is stepping down, that is leaving, that is opening up a space. There can be changes in your management. So whoever is managing you, if you have a manager, whoever your boss is, if you have a boss. If you're self-employed, it can absolutely be that you're getting some sort of achievement or recognition, or you're choosing to make career changes at this time, Gemini. And this eclipse is really quite positive, but there's one caveat to it. There's a fine line between, for all of us, this is not just for you, but for all of us with this eclipse, there's a fine line between delusion and possibility. You know, in a lot of cases, when people achieve something grand in their life, or they achieve a dream, it did at one point seem delulu. It did at one point seem impossible. Or it could have seemed that way to other people, but it requires this degree of belief, and it requires hard work as well to make a dream a reality. So I think for a lot of you, you're realizing where something could actually be attainable, or something maybe is not attainable. And it'll be different for all of you, but you could be taking off the rose-tinted glasses in a career or professional matter. It can be for some of you that you're realizing, say for example, you're in a position where you got some fame or recognition. You might realize this is not exactly what I thought it would be. Or it can be that you're looking at a long-term goal and thinking, this isn't really what I want anymore, or this maybe seems a bit too good to be true. With Neptune energy, it can be notoriously confusing. Sometimes it can be the love bombing energy, the gaslighting energy, and sometimes it can be the idealistic fantasy come true. You know, it's hard to know. That's why it's important to use your intuition on these matters. I think for a lot of you, career-wise, there could absolutely be a change for you. Some of you, it may be retiring. Some of you, it may be promotion. Some of you, it may be your boss stepping down, and you may be thinking, okay, well, now that they're leaving, should I go in another direction, or should I maybe go for their role? You know, you're sort of having a lot of emotions about what your career path should be, Gemini. It could be quite sensitive. It could be quite emotional for you. There's a lovely sextile to Uranus in your 12th house. So I think for a lot of you, perhaps pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to your intuition, because you might get some sparks there that give you an idea of what kind of changes you want to make. For a lot of you, you may actually be, you know, despite this being a very public eclipse, because you could actually find yourself public at this time with something. It could be that perhaps you are actually working on something behind the scenes quite privately to support these changes, or you're maybe making moves behind the scenes to push for these changes later. But you could absolutely find yourself very much in the public eye at this time. I will say, be very careful of, with the conjunction to Neptune, be very careful of lying. You don't have to actually know that you're lying, but you might want to go for a fact check here or two if you're putting something out publicly, you know, not over promising or over delivering or over over glamorizing something that's not true. Just be mindful of that with the conjunction to Neptune, Gemini, because sometimes it can just sort of skew the facts and skew the reality of the situation. And it's not a very realistic full moon lunar eclipse, but with Saturn being in the 10th house, it is very important to maintain your professional integrity for the long run for best results. You know, that conjunction to Neptune, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything ill-intentioned, but it could just be that you're putting out something that is too good to be true and is not attainable for you in the long run. So just be mindful of that, Gemini. If you're interviewing for a job or something like that, just remember that it may seem wonderful, but there will be hard times too. Your tarot card was the Emperor, which is very appropriate for this eclipse. This is very appropriate for stepping into a position of authority or something coming up with someone in your life who is in a position of authority. There could be something coming up for a lot of you with the Father. And I think this is really representative of you stepping into an energy where you want to get it done, you want to achieve, you want to take action, you want to perhaps accumulate a little bit more power, you want to accumulate a little bit more stability in your life career-wise, and some of you could absolutely be going for a more powerful position or making some substantial career moves or career changes, or they could be happening around you in the hierarchy of your job. That is what I have for you, Gemini, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Cancer, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Pisces for your sign. So Cancer, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 9th house. Some of you could be traveling at this time. Some of you could be taking a trip, planning a trip, considering a trip. And I think for a lot of Cancerian risings, this is going to be a time where you really want to take an adventure. You really want to see something new. You really want to explore your horizons. You're maybe feeling very called to go to a particular place. One thing I will say is oftentimes with eclipses happening on the 9th house, 3rd house axis, especially when the North Node is going through the 9th. So the North Node will enter the 9th in January for you, but this is a North Node eclipse. A lot of the time people go to places where they're destined to go for whatever reason. You know, say you go on a holiday with your partner and you get engaged, or say you travel to a land and you meet a really important professional connection there. A lot of the time there's a sense of destiny. So if you're feeling called to book a certain trip, to go to a certain place, just know that it is probably for a bigger reason, even if it doesn't seem big at the time, or if you don't see it coming. A lot of the time it is to do with your destiny. It may also be that you decide you want to move there as well, Cancer. So I think for a lot of you there's going to be something coming up with travel, wanting to go to a certain place, wanting to explore somewhere, or being open to new adventures. This can also be a time for some of you where you are perhaps graduating, you're maybe getting a degree of some kind, you may be working really hard towards a degree, you're maybe, you know, studying something that could actually be Neptunian, something that could be in the arts, something that could be very glamorous. It could be acting, for example, or music or something like that. It doesn't have to be, but for some of you, you could absolutely be graduating or studying or deciding you want to go back to school for whatever it is that you want to study. It can also be a time when you're really exploring your spirituality. That can absolutely be a case for a lot of Cancer risings under this eclipse. You're really exploring your belief systems, maybe looking at different religions, maybe considering what they have to offer, what they have to teach you. With the conjunction to Neptune, I feel like I say this to you more than any other sign, because Neptune's going through the 9th. Be very careful of accidentally joining a cult or purposefully joining a cult, because Neptune has that potential for gaslighting and love bombing and over promising, and this is very idealistic and this is very fantastical and all these sort of things. Just be mindful of that. You don't want to go down that route. At least I don't think you want to go down that route. It doesn't sound like a good idea. I've never heard anything good. Okay? I've never heard anything good. So just be mindful of that. But I do think for some of you, you could really be exploring spirituality in general. And with it being the 9th house, I also think you're just sort of exploring different viewpoints of the world, and you're sort of figuring out what it is that you believe in, what it is that you subscribe to, and where you can sort of feel more wisdom in your life. You're seeking wisdom, you're seeking exploration, you're kind of wanting to broaden your horizons, broaden your mind. So I think for a lot of you, you're sort of planning maybe a trip or planning to learn something that's very important to you or enriching to you, Cancer. The conjunction to Neptune, as I say, it has that potential for gaslighting or love bombing, but it has also potential for feeling this unconditional love for something. You know, you may be having a religious experience or spiritual experience where, you know, say you're meditating, you just tap into for the first time in your life this feeling of unconditional love and acceptance. It can just be a spiritual moment like that. I do think with the sextile to Uranus, when it comes to making positive changes, you may be connecting with people that you really feel get you, or you really feel understand you. With Uranus being there, you may feel as though you can connect with similar people. You might be finding your tribe through exploring a different spiritual perspective or religion or something like that. Cancer, you know, finding people that really get you and really understand what you're trying to say. Can also be a time that if you're putting your ideas out there, you get a lot of traction because of it. I think a lot of you are finding your tribe. The sextile to Pluto makes me think that, as I say, for some of you, if you're traveling, it could be that you are traveling with a partner, you get engaged. It could also be, if you're traveling for whatever reason, you maybe meet somebody who's relationship potential. It can also be for some of you that if you're going to university or college, you meet someone who is relationship potential as well, Cancer. Your tarot card was the Six of Swords, which is about better times ahead, which is lovely. But she's on a boat in this, which makes me think it emphasizes the travel part of this. You could be taking an actual trip overseas, over the water, going out in a boat. You could be looking to restore more peace in your life, Cancer, and sort of perhaps from whatever it is that you're doing spirituality wise or religious wise, you may be finding more peace and serenity from that. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Leo, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Pisces for your sign. So Leo, this lunar eclipse in your 8th house, this could be taking on a very financial energy for you, or it could actually be taking on a psychological energy for you. So I'm going to cover both. For a lot of you, this could be illuminating the money that you share or receive from other people. So that can be where you've got a loan, a grant, a mortgage. This could also be where you share finances with a partner, with a business partner, with a romantic partner, a spouse, etc. And it can be the money that you owe people. So I think for a lot of you with this lunar eclipse, you may be potentially paying off a debt, clearing a debt, or having some sort of intuitive feeling about what it is that you need to do financially in order to clear yourself, you know, clear your debt, clear your mortgage or something like that with this lunar eclipse in Pisces. I think for a lot of you, you may realize where something was possibly too good to be true. So say you had a mortgage and you thought this is really, really fair, and now you're looking at it and thinking, actually, I could have done better with this. You know, maybe you're getting information from somebody else, you're talking to somebody else at work or something, and you're thinking, actually, this isn't as great as I thought it was. You know, with the conjunction to Neptune, you might be realizing you were a bit idealistic, or it seemed too good to be true, or it was too good to be true. For others of you, it could actually be that you're realizing with this lunar eclipse what needs to change financially in order for you to improve your finances, Leo. It's a very positive eclipse. I just want to mention that. The conjunction to Neptune, though, can sometimes be where you have been over idealistic, or where you have perhaps had a fantasy in your mind about how it should be or what it could be, and maybe you're being a bit disillusioned, or you're realizing something was a bit delusional. Or it can also be that you're realizing that it's actually a bit better than it looked. You know, with Neptune, it's kind of notoriously foggy and a bit confusing at times. So with this eclipse, it's giving you the information, but it's not necessarily exactly as it seemed. So I think with this, when it comes to your finances, Leo, do try and listen to your intuition. It's kind of the goal for everybody. Listen to your intuition. Do you have a gut feeling about this before you put on the fantasy? Do you have a gut feeling about this? Are there red flags in place when it comes to whatever's going on for you financially at this time, or with a partner? It can also be that you're receiving financial support from someone that really feels like unconditional love, like someone's wanting to help you out, someone's wanting to help you with your finances, and you really feel this sense of, oh, this is really nice, they must really love me. You know, say you owe money to your partner and they're saying, actually, no, don't worry about it, and you're thinking, oh, they really love me. It could be something like that for some of you as well. I think for a lot of Leo risings, though, this can be very psychological. It can be to do with your relationship to the occult as well. I'm aware that a lot of people that watch astrology videos are occultists, so I'm going to mention this too. This lunar eclipse in Pisces could absolutely emphasize your relationship to the occult. You could be studying astrology, you could be learning about mediumship, you could be increasing your skills when it comes to divination, when it comes to exploring the mysteries of the universe, that type of thing. It could really be deepening your relationship to that. And some of you might even find that if you do that professionally, you're getting a bit of a boost at this time. Through the work that you're doing, you're really discovering your skills, or you're bringing your skills into the workplace. With the sextile to Pluto and the sextile to Uranus and the conjunction to Neptune, a lot of you could really be getting in touch with your skills of divination, mediumship, astrology, the occult. And a lot of you as well could be having some major breakthroughs if you're seeing a therapist or you're doing psychological work. You could really be tapping into an energy that helps you clear out some deep embedded emotions behind the scenes. You might be feeling a little bit more emotional in general around the time of this eclipse, Leo, and you might be perhaps dissolving some blocks to intimacy in your life, or clearing out some emotions that stop you connecting more vulnerably stop you being vulnerable in your connections. I'm not even sure if I was saying a real word there. That's just, when your brain stops and you think, what was I saying? It can be that type of energy where you're connecting with someone a little bit more deeply because you're allowing yourself to feel that energy of unconditional love for yourself and for another person. So yes, for some of you it can be financial. There can be financial changes. And it can also be, for some of you, it's more psychological or more esoteric or more intimate. And I will say as well, with this particular house, a lot of it is to do with inheritance. Now, inheritance can be the financial side, but it can also be the gifts we inherit in our family line. It can also be the talents we inherit, or the emotional baggage that we inherit. So a lot of you could be clearing ancestral karma through this eclipse. And I do think with that conjunction to Neptune, the energy of unconditional love comes into it in some way, shape or form, Leo. So your tarot card was the King of Swords, which is mind over matter. I think for a lot of you, you could be dealing with an air sign person, an Aquarius, Libra, Gemini, emphasis on the Libra. But I think for some of you, this could be to do with legal matters, maybe signing documents. It could be that you're wanting to take a more mind over matter approach to your finances, doing something by the book, being truthful, being stern. You have Saturn in the 8th house, so there's a strong commitment to paying off debt, being responsible when it comes to your finances. So I would say for a lot of you, it's important that you're very, regimented when it comes to paying off a debt, or looking after your financial relationships, or looking after your finances in general. I also think for a lot of you, this could possibly be a tax rebate or money coming back to you that you paid to the government or something like that. You could be getting a tax rebate, or you could be receiving information about the money that you do owe, or the money that you're paying off, or the debt that you have, and it could come in the form of a letter. That is what I have for you, Leo, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Virgo, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Pisces for your sign. So Virgo, this is very important for you because it is the first in a series of 7 in your sign and your opposite sign. So this axis is going to impact you the most. So you're going to want to pay attention to these. With the North Node shifting into Pisces in January and this eclipse kickstarting that storyline, for a lot of you this is going to be about your partnerships and your relationships. So whether that be your spouse, your fiance, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whether this be your business partner, whether this be your clients, whether this be any kind of one-on-one relationship, effectively Virgo, is going to be highlighted. Connecting with others is going to be very important for you over the next few years. So for a lot of you, this lunar eclipse is going to be highlighting partnerships and relationships. Think back to March of this year. Were you setting any intentions? Were you making any decisions? Were you beginning anything when it comes to relationships, when it comes to partnerships? Just think back to then and see if you had any intentions, because they may be manifesting around the time of this eclipse. This eclipse is highlighting a key partnership in your life. So with that being said, this means that you can be experiencing relationship changes, and it will be different for everybody. This eclipse does feel quite positive though, so whatever is happening likely feels more so for the best. So even if you were to separate from someone, even if you were to initiate a divorce or go through a divorce, I feel you would probably already know that. It is a partial eclipse, so if there's a separation in some kind of relationship in your life, I think you're already quite aware of it. And I think you may be feeling like it is for the best to go your separate ways, because with Neptune there's a sense of unconditional love. So maybe you're thinking, okay, I really do, love this person. I just don't love them in that way anymore. I think, we're separating and it's fine. Or it could be for some of you that you're leaving behind a business partnership and you're sort of dissolving it. But I think for most of you, this could actually be a really positive change in relationships. Neptune rules your 7th house in modern astrology, and it's conjunct this eclipse. So I feel for a lot of you, there may be potential for you to enter a relationship or expand in a relationship. So it can be that maybe you meet someone and they actually seem, with Neptune being there, to be the ideal for you. It could be your fantasy partner, your dream partner. It can also be that for some of you, you're feeling so happy in your relationship, you get engaged, you get married, you feel very, it feels very dreamy, it feels very ethereal, very loving. And that can be a beautiful positive change going on in your relationship, Virgo, as well. And it can also just be that if it's, not romantic, if it's business, it can really feel like you guys had a fantasy, you had a vision, and it's manifesting as a business partnership. Say you had a dream with your business partner, I don't know, the most obscure example. You wanted a pond in your business garden on your premises. You wanted a pond. Just the Neptune energy went straight to pond. Pisces, fish, carp, whatever. You wanted a pond. And now this is coming a reality. That is the worst example I could have thought of. I am so sorry, but it's that kind of, I'm trying to think on my feet. You wanted a pond. You get a pond. You're really pleased with the pond. It's lovely. So, there's some sort of achievement in a partnership or relationship in your life. And I think it feels very loving. It feels very dreamy. It feels like a dream come true. Word of warning. If something seems to be too good to be true, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. And I have experienced Neptune transits where at the time it feels like the most beautiful thing in the world, and then you look back and think, oops, oops. So pay attention to any red flags that may be coming up in any regard, whether that's in your relationship, whether that's in your business partnership, in plans that you're making with somebody else, maybe even a client. Say you get a really famous client at this time and it seems like a great idea, just bear in mind they may be a bit of an escapist. They might actually do a bit of a Houdini on you from time to time. And you're really excited because this famous client is going to bring you prestige, but they're actually going to be a bit, they live the artist's way, so to speak. And if you're getting into a relationship with someone, they might be very dreamy and they might be your absolute ideal type. But it could be perhaps that they have some tendencies that are a little bit escapist from time to time. And that can be frustrating at moments. Nothing in life is ever perfect, and Neptune can really make it seem like the ideal. It's the reason Neptune is associated with Hollywood. It seems glitz and glamorous, but sometimes there's things behind it. And that's not to scare you off anybody or anything. It's just to remember the nuance of it. That being said, there's a lovely sextile to Uranus in your 9th house. So if you do connect with a new partner or you're deepening a relationship, there may be something quite spiritual about it. So it could be, for example, some of you are getting married and you're doing a traditional, well, maybe not traditional because Uranus is in the mix, but it's in the 9th house. So you're having a spiritual connection, a spiritual union. It could be for others of you, if you have a business relationship, you're maybe planning to take something a bit further overseas, or you're getting some sort of global recognition. Or it could be that perhaps with the sextile to Pluto, Virgo, for you in your 5th house, that you're in a business relationship, you're getting very creative. Or maybe in a partnership, you're talking about having children, or exploring your options when it comes to having children in a relationship. I do think for a lot of you, if you're single, this is very likely a time period until 2027 but kind of an emphasis on now with Saturn being there and Neptune being there. There's definitely an emphasis on forming relationships, and there's definitely an emphasis on committing to relationships. So for those of you that are single, this full moon may present an opportunity for a new relationship in your life. But as I say, for some of you that are not interested in that, it can be that you are connecting with a business partner, or your business relationships are changing in some way at this time as well, Virgo. You know, it can go, you know, there's more to the 7th house than just romantic partnerships, is what I'm trying to say. So with this Temperance card being your tarot card, the Temperance card actually says perfecting balance, a union of opposites. I do think for a lot of you, you could be connecting with somebody and trying to balance your needs and their needs in order to form a very balanced relationship to make sure that everybody's happy, whether that is love, partnership, or business partnership. You're trying to be quite purposeful in connecting with another person and making sure everybody's needs are met with the Temperance card. I also sort of think that maybe if you have a partnership, they may actually be deciding to go teetotal or go sober, because the lunar eclipse, Neptune, they might actually be deciding they want to give up alcohol or some sort of substance at this time as well. Or if you're meeting somebody, maybe they're sober, maybe they're teetotal or something like that. The Temperance card is lovely because it's a guardian angel type of energy. So you may be feeling like whatever is going on with a partnership in your life, it feels kind of blessed at this time. That's what I have for you, Virgo, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Libra, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Pisces for your sign. So Libra, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 6th house. So this may be a case where something is changing when it comes to your work life or when it comes to your health. So it may feel like you have to let go of something work-wise going forward. It could be that you're leaving a job of yours is ending, a role of yours is ending or wrapping up. It could be that someone that you work with is leaving your job. There could be some sort of ending happening in that sector, your working life, your day-to-day routines, the people that you work with in the day-to-day. Something could absolutely be changing or sort of getting a bit of an adaptation in your working life. So for example, you could be leaving a job, or there could be changes within your job that change what you're doing on a day-to-day basis or the way that you work. With Jupiter ruling this eclipse and being in the 9th house, it could also be that perhaps you're maybe moving overseas for work, or you're connecting with a remote job over work. It could be that perhaps you're connecting with people who work in different countries, or who work globally, or maybe you're having to travel more for work. That's maybe what your routine changes are. But whatever the case may be, Libra, it feels as though there are changes happening for you work-wise. And it also feels there's changes for you happening health-wise, where you might have to change something quite significantly for your health. So the lunar eclipse in Pisces could bring attention to a health matter. I think with Saturn being in your 6th house as well, you may notice that where you really commit to your health and where you're very diligent and responsible with what you eat, how you exercise, with your routine, or how you take care of your mind, body, and soul, you oftentimes see really good results. Saturn calls us wherever it goes to take that area more seriously. So it could be for a lot of you that perhaps you are indeed, focusing more on your health and your wellness, and you're seeing some sort of results around the time of this lunar eclipse. For better or worse, if you haven't been focused on it, if you've been really neglectful with it, you might not necessarily see the results that you want. And it could be that perhaps for some of you, it's because you've been traveling too much, or perhaps you've been studying too much if you're in university or college, and you're really having your attention brought back to your health and your well-being with this particular lunar eclipse. But it can be a time for a diagnosis, or it can be a time for some sort of health change for you. I will say with the conjunction to Neptune, oftentimes I see this with people, I want to say as an astrologer, a lot of the time when I see Neptune come up, either as a transit to a person's chart or with an eclipse, there can be a focus on medication. So for some of you, you might be going on medication, or you might be coming off medication. Your circumstances are very unique. But it can be for others of you that you're actually taking a more holistic approach to your health, where you're going to Reiki, you're going to acupuncture, or something like that as well. Very different for all of you. You do you, it's your body, how you look after yourself best for yourself is being highlighted effectively under this lunar eclipse. This is astrology. It's not giving you any medical advice. It's just saying that perhaps you're maybe having some sort of significant health changes. And I think for some of you, as I say, you could be going down a very spiritual route. And for others of you, you could be going down a more traditional pharmaceutical route, you know, with that conjunction to Neptune. It's just my observation as an astrologer. But I think with the sextile to Uranus in your 8th, you're wanting to make some positive changes in order to transform your health. You may also be, for health reasons, getting some sort of financial support from the government or a loan of some kind. Or it may be that if you're doing some sort of work, you're getting a grant for it. And with the sextile to Pluto in your 4th house, perhaps work-wise, you're being able to work from home, or you're being able to change your work to accommodate family changes with Pluto back in your 4th house, Libra. So your tarot card was the 4 of Swords, which is about isolation, rest, taking a break and healing. So for a lot of you, maybe at this lunar eclipse, you're taking some time off for your health. Maybe you're feeling generally quite under the weather. Usually with eclipses happening in the 6th or the 12th house, one can feel a bit under the weather, a bit unwell, or be sort of noticing health fluctuations. You might get a cold or something and you need to take a few days to relax and take care of yourself and sort of have a lie down with the 4 of Swords, taking some time to rest and go within with this particular card. That is what I have for you, Libra, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Scorpio, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Pisces for your sign. So Scorpio, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 5th house, and this highlights a few different things, but it really is a very joyful house. It's the house of fun. It's a very creative house. It's a very romantic house. So I think for a lot of you with this lunar eclipse, it could be with the conjunction to Neptune. You may be falling in love with somebody. You might be really idealizing this person and thinking this is just the greatest person in the world. This is the one. This is what I've always dreamed of. Whether or not that's based in reality, I don't know. And that's not to say that it's a bad person, but you know the way sometimes you can just get swept up in the feelings and over-idealize a person and think they're the best thing, and you've these rose-tinted glasses on and you're maybe not seeing the red flags or the things that are a little bit more, simply just a little bit more human about the person, and you're putting them in this pedestal. That could be a case for many of you. Could also be that you realize this eclipse that you've done that with somebody and you realize you actually need to step away from the person. Or the thing, you know, you could really have been over romanticizing or idealizing a thing that you love to do. For a lot of you that are creatives, you could really find at this time that you feel you're channeling from source something divine in your art or your creativity. If you're a songwriter, you might really be in tune with your emotions. You might feel like you're channeling something that the collective needs to hear, that is going to be healing for you. You might really feel very psychically in tune with your art. If you're a performer, you may be giving a very ethereal, magical, mystical, elusive performance at this time as well. For others of you with this being the 5th house, you could be finding out that you're pregnant, or you could be giving birth, or there could be something very significant happening in the life of one of your children, regardless of their age. There could be something quite significant happening for your child. They could be a big focus of attention in your life. They could take your attention at this time. But as I say, I do think some of you could be perhaps wrapping up a romance, or you could be wrapping up a creative project, or you could be perhaps giving birth to a child or to something in your life, a creative project or whatever that case may be. But the Pisces energy is something you're going to be focusing on very much for the next few years, Scorpio. So do pay attention to what's coming up at this time. I think for a lot of you, it's going to be a very creative and quite mystical, magical process for a lot of you, where you're really feeling very in tune with your creative side or your creative hobbies or what it is that you do for fun. It's really going to be a time where you're focusing on fun and enjoyment over the next few years, Scorpio, and maybe even focusing, for those of you that are single, on dating and connecting with others romantically. There is a sextile to Uranus in your 7th house, so this can be really positive change with a partner, with a relationship, or meeting someone with the potential for being a relationship for you. Or you may just feel inspired in a collaborative, creative partnership. with the sextile to Pluto in your third house, if you are creative or an artist, I think for a lot of you, writing and communication is going to factor into this quite significantly with your ruler Pluto in a harmonious sextile here. Pluto back in your third for its final stay. The third house is about communication. Now Jupiter that rules this eclipse is in your 8th house, so I really feel like there's a very strong sense of intimacy and vulnerability coming through, whether that is that, you know, you're having your first baby and your heart sort of bursts open with love, or whether it is that you are connecting with someone romantically and you're feeling the need to be vulnerable, or whether it is that you're sharing a very vulnerable part of you through your art. Scorpio, it feels as though there's a strong sense of wanting to expand your life through being more vulnerable or being more connected to someone or something. Now your tarot card was the 7 of Wands, and it's funny, in this card it's 2 eagles in a conflict, and Scorpio is one of the archetypes of Scorpio is the eagle. So I think for a lot of you, you're wanting to see the bigger picture on an issue that perhaps is a conflict, and you're maybe wanting to fight for something in your life, and you're maybe making a stand. Some of you may have to make a stand perhaps with a romantic partner over an issue, or you're having to practice autonomy and stand up for what it is that you want and what it is that you believe in. That could be creatively or that could be romantically, but you may have a little bit of conflict going on around the time of this eclipse that you have to face, Scorpio. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Pisces for your sign. So Sagittarius, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 4th house. Now, the North Node is going to move into your 4th house in January. We already have Saturn there, we have Neptune there. For a lot of you, this is about moving homes. For many of you, you may realize around this time you want to move home. This eclipse may be the emotional moment where you think, I need to relocate. I need a different type of home for me or for my family. I need something different than what I have. This is not working for me. And over the next few years, you very well may move. I think for a lot of you, with Saturn being there, you're really wanting a home that you can lay roots, that you can put down a strong foundation to last, you know, a foundation that's going to last. For some of you, maybe you've been renting all your life and you decide, I need to buy a home. I want to buy a home. I want mine. And so there's changes there where you're committing a bit more deeply to your home. For a lot of you around the time of this eclipse, you may discover your dream home. You know, with the conjunction to Neptune, you may find a home that just feels like everything you've ever wanted. The warning with this is that it may, you know, if it seems too good to be true, sometimes it is. Try and take the rose-tinted glasses off just a little bit. Saturn is there, so you have a little bit more chance of seeing the fundamental reality of the situation. But you could absolutely get swept up in the fantasy of a dream home that maybe just, you know, it maybe costs a little bit more than you wanted to spend, but it seems like everything you've ever wanted, Sagittarius. So you might be thinking, okay, well actually I'm going to do it. There's a sextile to Pluto in your 2nd house. Some of you might actually have the finances to make this happen if you are planning to move. I think for a lot of you, it is going to be a time where you're really realizing what would be the ideal when it comes to your home and living situation. Some of you may be moving to be near the beach, to be near the water. Some of you may be moving to be near your family. But I think for a lot of you, if it's not moving, it could be renovations. It could be wanting to make your home, to change the energy in your home, to make it more healing for you, more safe for you, a little bit more, you could actually be finding it's taking on Neptunian themes, like bringing a seaside vibe or bringing very calm, muted colors into the mix. But I think for a lot of you, you're really wanting your home to be a safe haven, a safe harbor, so to speak. So if it's not to do with home property matters, Sagittarius, this could be to do with changes going on in your family. Your family could be moving. They could be selling the family home. It could be that there's some sort of substantial changes happening within your family sector at this time as well. And you could also just be feeling a little bit more emotional at this time, a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more introspective with this being in the 4th house. So do allow yourself to feel your feelings, to tap into your intuition, and to really figure out, you know, boundaries when it comes to your home and family matters. You might actually find yourself wanting to put up boundaries around your home. And for some of you, with this lunar eclipse being in the sign of Pisces, you maybe want to add, a water feature or a pond or something to your home at this time as well, Sagittarius. There's a nice sextile to Uranus in your 6th house, so I think you maybe want your home to be better for working or working out, maybe making changes there so that you can accommodate these things. Maybe you want to move somewhere where you can go for really nice walks in the morning by the beach, or maybe you're wanting, with the sextile to Pluto in your 2nd house, move somewhere where you feel the community is more aligned to your values, and that could be factoring in for this. I think for a lot of you could be moving for a relationship though. Jupiter, that rules this eclipse in traditional astrology, is in your 7th house of relationships. You could be moving for a partnership or a relationship, or moving a partner into your home, or you moving into their home. Or it could be that you're partnering with someone business-wise to purchase a property or premises for your business. Your tarot card was the Page of Coins, and I really like this for you because this card actually says laying a foundation, and the 4th house is about foundations. So I think for a lot of you, you're really trying to set some sort of foundation, get grounded for yourself, have the best potential foundation to build upon, to maybe start a family, to purchase a home. Maybe you're getting your finances in order so that you can buy a home or buy a property or start a family, or work from home full-time or remote or something like that, Sagittarius. But I think for a lot of you, you're really wanting to lay solid foundations for yourself. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Capricorn, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Pisces for your sign. So Capricorn, this is happening in your 3rd house, and there's a few different ways this can play out. One is there could be changes coming with a car, with your transport, with your everyday commute. There could be changes happening with a gadget, a laptop, a phone, something like that. With the conjunction to Neptune, maybe you drop something in the water. Maybe you drop a device in the water, hopefully not your car, but maybe you drop your phone in the water or laptop, you spill something on it or whatever with the conjunction to Neptune, and you realize you need to get a new one. I do remember when the North Node went through my 3rd house. It'll enter the 3rd house for you in January, but this eclipse is starting off that process. I remember that I got a new phone, I had to get a new laptop. In fact, I had to get 2 new laptops in that time period. It can really, the North Node can bring a lot of something to your life, so there's a lot of focus on changing gadgets and things like that. So you might find that you're having to get a new phone, or you're having to get a new laptop or something for a work capacity, Capricorn. So as I say, be careful of having your device around the water or spilling something on it this time, because there could be, some serious technical issues coming from dropping your phone in the bath. But if it's not that, it could be that there's something coming up with a sibling in your life. There could be something peaking in their life, something going on with them. It could be that there's something happening in your neighborhood at this time. You might actually find that maybe you're getting some very spiritual neighbors, or maybe you're finding your sibling is perhaps becoming more spiritual or more, for some of you, you could have a sibling that is actually looking to pursue some kind of healing for maybe issues that they're dealing with or issues that they've been escaping. Or you may find that a neighbor or a sibling is very elusive at this time. But there could definitely be changes happening in these areas for you, Capricorn, where you're noticing some changes in your local neighborhood. I also think you're noticing some changes in the way that you're thinking, and you're wanting to think a little bit differently. You might be wanting to take a more rose-tinted glasses approach to thinking. You might want to see things from a rose-tinted glasses. You might want to be a little bit more dreamy or positive or optimistic about something, but you may also equally just find yourself spacing out a little bit more, maybe disassociating a bit when it comes to how you're thinking. You could find yourself feeling a bit spacey around this time. With the ruler of this Jupiter in your 6th house, I think for a lot of you, you could be getting some information or some sort of communication when it comes to your work, when it comes to your health, when it comes to the people that you're working with. There could be some very important conversations coming up that change the way that you think, that change the way that you change the way that you interact with other people. With this being here, you could have some very important conversations with people that you work with, or important conversations about your health, important news about your health at this time as well, Capricorn, obviously with Jupiter being in the 6th house, you're looking to expand your knowledge when it comes to your health, when it comes to your work, and get as much information as possible. There's a sextile from this eclipse to Pluto in your 1st house. Pluto is back in your 1st house for a while. So I think for a lot of you, maybe you have a big announcement to make at this time. Maybe you have some information that you need to put out there, something that you need to say, and something that is to do with changes that are going on in your life, something you need to communicate either with, you know, a wider audience, or communicate with your, you know, a smaller audience, whatever the case may be. There may be something that you need to communicate. With a sextile to Uranus as well, this could be to do with your children, this could be to do with a pregnancy, a birth, or something like that, Capricorn. Or it could be to do with your love life, but there could be information that you need to share at this time with other people, or something that you need to get out there, something that you need to express. Your tarot card was the World, which is the end of a chapter. So some of you might actually be traveling at this time. The 3rd house can be short distance travel, short distance trips, road trips. But obviously the Sun in Virgo is in your 9th house, so you could be planning a trip, you could be planning to go somewhere, to see something, or you could be wrapping up a particular chapter in your life and it's the end of an era. Capricorn, it could be that you are wanting to let something go personally, maybe a way of viewing the world, maybe a way of seeing your achievements, or, you know, maybe you have some sort of literary or communicative success. Maybe something you have to communicate goes very well, or it could be that you're just being able to let go of something that's been weighing you down, you know, by saying it. Capricorn. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Aquarius, welcome to the lunar eclipse in your 2nd house. Hope you're all doing really well. So Aquarius, this lunar eclipse in your 2nd house. So this is to do with your money. It's not just your money. The 2nd house isn't only to do with money, so I'm going to cover the other potentials here, but I just want to start with that. For some of you, you could be perhaps wrapping up a particular way of making money, or you could be letting go of a particular attitude towards money. Or it could also be that you are perhaps spending money on something that you really love this time, Aquarius. You know, something that really makes you feel a sense of unconditional love, and that can be so different for other people, for everybody. I think for some of you it seems to be to do with a child or a pregnancy, because Jupiter, the ruler of this eclipse, is in the 5th house, so you could be spending money on your baby or your soon-to-be baby. For others of you that are artistic, you could be spending money on, you know, your dream guitar, or your this really beautiful book that you can write in, or something like that. You're spending money on something that brings you a sense of unconditional love when it comes to your creativity. So whether that is that it's a baby on the way, or whether that is that it's an artistic project, or whether it is that it's on your love life, someone that you really love, it could be any of these things that you could be spending some money on at this time, Aquarius. You could really feel this sense of unconditional love with what it is that you're purchasing, or what it is that you're buying, or, you know, maybe your values are changing when it comes to the things that you love or the people that you love. That's possible too. But with the sextile to Uranus in your 4th house, I feel like you're really making changes when it comes to your home and family that feel, you know, because Uranus in the 4th can be very disruptive to where you live, to your living environment. Your home can be a source of chaos at times. But with the sextile to Uranus in your 4th, I feel like with this one, if you're maybe spending money on a family member, spending money on a child, spending money on something home-wise, you feel good about it. Like, you think this is really something that makes you feel love. You're happy to do it, I think, for a lot of you. With the sextile to Uranus, there is a sextile to Pluto in your 12th house, so this might be something that you're doing privately or behind the scenes. But there's kind of a spiritual component about this for you, where I think you just feel tapped into something bigger. You just feel like this is bigger than me. This is bigger than what I'm spending money on. This means something. So I think for a lot of you, you're perhaps, you know, either spending your money on something that makes you really happy, or you're letting go of some, I guess, deluded or idealistic way of relating to money. You know, sometimes with Neptune going through the second, money can slip through your fingers because you just feel kind of careless with it. But with Saturn now being in the mix and the North Node going into this sector, I think you're getting more serious about your finances and money and what you spend money on. You're maybe a bit more careful. So I think for a lot of you, you could actually be letting go of spending money carelessly, or being sort of non-committal or carefree when it comes to your finances. You're getting a bit more serious about them, Aquarius. Sometimes that happens. In fact, that nearly always happens with Saturn in the second. You find that you're getting more serious financial commitments in your life that you need to take seriously. So with this lunar eclipse happening in your second house, I think you're really letting go of some sort of non-committal attitude or belief or habit financially. Now, if it's not to do with money, it can just be to do with your values, and you could be connecting with something that, as I say, it's just bigger than you. You have this sort of spiritual value coming up with what it is that you're doing. You feel it has to be kind of altruistic, or something that you feel more. It does seem to take on this very spiritual tone with you, where your values are maybe a little bit more, I want to say altruistic. I want to say that you're maybe thinking that you need to be more, in touch with the parts of yourself that are for you and for your God, so to speak. You're maybe feeling a little bit more like what truly matters to you is honoring this sense of unconditional love, and what really matters to you is honoring this sense of forgiveness, and what matters to you is honoring this sense of surrender and letting go. You're really finding, I think, some strong connection to a spiritual value of yours, Aquarius. I hope that makes sense. But if it's not money, I think for a lot of you it is to do with your spiritual needs and values and this connection with something bigger than you. And I think for a lot of you, you could be in a space of forgiveness, maybe particularly when it comes to family. Or when it comes to the concept of home or family. You're maybe feeling a little bit more forgiving at this time as well, Aquarius. That's just obviously for some of you. It's going to manifest differently. The houses in astrology, they have the very, traditional meanings, but they're a bit broader than just, the second house is a bit broader than just money. It's value. It's what matters to you. It's your morals. It's your moral compass and things like that as well. So your tarot card was the Fool, and this is very appropriate for you because the Fool in the astrological sense is Uranus in Aquarius. So this is about a new beginning, being a free spirit. It's about being idealistic. I think some of you are feeling quite idealistic, and some of you are feeling quite excited about maybe something in your life that you're spending money on, something that you really love to do, something that feels fun, something that feels exciting for you. There's a new beginning happening for you. I think for a lot of you, it could be to do with love, or it could be to do with children, pregnancy, or creativity. And it could be something happening in your children's lives if you already have them. But I think this is a new chapter that you're quite excited about, Aquarius. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Pisces, welcome to the lunar eclipse in your sign. Pisces, you're the main character of this eclipse, and this is going to kickstart a series of eclipses in your sign and your opposite sign Virgo leading up to 2027. So for you, your relationship to yourself is going to change, and your relationship to others is going to change. Your first and seventh house are going to be very different by the end of these eclipses, that is for sure. But for you, this lunar eclipse, it's conjunct your modern ruler Neptune in your first house. And I think for a lot of you, you're probably going to be undergoing some sort of physical change at this time, whether that is that you're having some sort of cosmetic procedure, or you're having a haircut, or you're having a change of style. It feels as if something's changing for you, Pisces, and it might be something you've put in place since March. For some of you, it could be weight loss, with Saturn being there. Getting more physically fit, taking better care of your health with Saturn being in the first house. For some of you, it could be dental work with Saturn in the first house. So for example, for me, I started Invisalign, I think within the month from the new moon in Pisces, because it was exactly on my ascendant. The new moon in Pisces in March, I got Invisalign, and they're coming off I'm finishing the process 2 days before this lunar eclipse, which is kind of crazy how astrology works like that. I didn't plan it like that on purpose. It was just the timings worked out that way. So for some of you, it could be something similar where you've maybe straightened your teeth, or you've bleached your teeth, or you have been working out a lot and you're seeing the change physically for you under this lunar eclipse. It could be when people are commenting on your appearance and how you look differently. For some of you, it could be that it's a pregnancy with Jupiter being in your 4th house. Maybe you're going to give birth, or maybe you're going to become a parent under this eclipse. Or it's just something that is transpiring in your life. Maybe you find out that you're pregnant under this eclipse. If you have this eclipse near your ascendant, so 24, 25, 26 degrees of Pisces, you very well could be experiencing a pregnancy at this time for some of you, or giving birth. But there's definitely physical changes for a lot of Pisces under this lunar eclipse, whether that be cosmetic, whether that be pregnancy, or whether that be something you didn't even consciously change. But I will say, I think for a lot of you, you probably like it with Neptune. Obviously, with the conjunction to Neptune, you may be experiencing water retention, or you might even find that you're realizing a certain substance that you take or that you use is maybe actually kind of not as far as poisonous to you, but be very careful of what it is that you are putting in and out of your body, as it could be, one, simply causing water retention, or it could actually be making you kind of unwell. You might realize there's toxins or something in something that you're using and you're having a strange reaction to it with this conjunction to Neptune. But I do think for a lot of you, this seems to be to do with physical changes. For some of you, it may also be home changes. You might be realizing under this lunar eclipse that you're going to move, or that you want to move, with Jupiter being in the 4th house as well. There's a sextile to Uranus, so I feel as though you're getting some sort of support from your community with changes that you aim to make, Pisces. People are being very supportive of the changes that you're making. Your friends are being very supportive of the changes that you're making. You might be getting a lot of compliments verbally from people around you for your aesthetic changes or your personality changes. Maybe you're glowing. I also think with the conjunction to Neptune, you may be realizing, okay, I need to be, you're a very compassionate sign, but is that extending to you? Are you being compassionate to yourself? Are you practicing unconditional love? You could really be tapping into that energy and figuring, okay, I need to love myself more. I need to be kinder to myself. And that could be a big, if you're the kinder you are to yourself, the better choices you make for you out of self-love. And that can, it's not all about looks, but that can improve your appearance. It can improve your energy with this Neptune conjunction. I also think for a lot of you, with the fact this is happening in your 1st house, the sun is in your 7th house, from a relationship perspective, you're figuring out how to pick partners who are better for you. Saturn is in your 1st house, so you're probably a bit more discerning with the people that you associate with, a bit more discerning of who gets access to you. With Saturn being in your 1st house, setting up better boundaries in place. The conjunction to Neptune can be where you're being a little bit unrealistic or rose tinted surrounding either yourself or life in general, or the partners you pick. So just make sure that you're being a little bit more discerning when it comes to where something seems too good to be true in your life with Neptune. It's not to say that you can't enjoy that beautiful Neptunian energy. It's just about being mindful of where it's maybe going to the extreme, and you use your intuition to figure that out. I do think for a lot of you, you could be a bit more emotional at this time, a little bit more sensitive and like a psychic sponge. So make sure to ground yourself and to make sure you're letting go of energies that are not yours to carry. For example, I actually ordered this body oil online that is infused with obsidian and Palo Santo and things like that to protect the energy, because I just feel everything. It's a Pisces rising right now. I feel like just overwhelmed physically. So you may be feeling the same, Pisces, and you may need to ground yourself and take better care of yourself, because you could just be feeling very spacey and very, out of whack with this eclipse. It's shifting your energy quite a bit, and that can feel a bit overwhelming at times. Your tarot card was the 3 of Wands, which says manifest your dreams. And it says manifesting big developments. Big is capitalized. travel for pleasure, work or love, level up and progress. So I think for a lot of you, your life is going to change quite significantly over the next few years. You're going to be wanting to manifest big things in your life. You're going to be having big events happen, big rites of passage and stuff like that. For some of you, that could be where you're getting married. For some of you, that could be where you're meeting a marriage partner. For some of you, it could be that maybe you're getting divorced. And for others of you, it could be that you're getting a big job, making a big career change, or maybe you're traveling somewhere that's going to change your life, or you're relocating, Pisces. Whatever the case may be, with that Three of Wands, it could be that you are going to be unrecognizable after the eclipses have finished in 2027. You know, that is 4 years, so that makes perfect sense. But I think under this eclipse, you may be paying attention to what your soul is calling you toward. That is what I have for you, Pisces. I'll talk to you soon.